Coach, want to open up?
Just wrapped up a good first practice of what we consider a new start, a fresh start. I think the theme of the day was energy. The theme of the day was, just going out and finding a whole bunch of fun in the game of football. And I think the players responded tremendously well. It's not been an easy 3-4 days for these players. It certainly hasn't been an easy few days for us as coaches. But we're all in this situation for a reason. We believe that. And our players have really bought into the mission of going out and just having fun and fly around the football field. And, I talked with the team after the game that, energy at practice doesn't guarantee you anything, but it gives you a chance. And that's what we believe is that, when we can find a defense that plays sound, fast, and simple and flies around, they're gonna respond. And they were much improved today. And a lot of it was just their effort and the way they took the field. So it was fun to watch the way that they went about their business. And today was a day where we created some chaos, some football situations, and had a chance to go line up and play in a less controlled environment. And I think that's where the execution gap has existed for us, has been executing well in a controlled environment in practice, and then going into a quote-unquote chaotic, noise-driven environment on a game day, and then all of a sudden the execution, the details start to fall off. So we're doing everything in our power to recreate those types of situations, and was really pleased with the first day, but it's just the first day on a long journey, and we're excited about the process of what we're putting together going into this fresh start of the second part of the season. A couple things, just personnel notes. Nate Dodson, who is a graduate assistant, will stay in his graduate assistant capacity, but is going to contribute with the quarterbacks. Is going to work with the quarterback position. We already talked and announced Clay Patterson is going to stay with the tight ends, but it's going to assume the role of offensive coordinator. So we've created some play calling scenarios today ahead of the game week, so we could use the bye week as an operational time. Gerald Chatman is still going to work with the defensive line, but assume the role of defensive coordinator. He already had his headsets on and communicating the calls, and it was fun to watch him work and the effort and intensity he brought to it. Two other notes: Jeff Smart has been activated to an on-the-field coaching capacity, and so he's going to assist with a position to be determined on defense. Jeff Smart is one of the great buff linebackers, but also just a tremendous mind for the game of football. His respect is just really across the team for his knowledge of the game, his love for this university, and the value that he brings. We need him to be on the field in that capacity. And then additionally, we have elevated Chris Reinert from his role of, quality control special teams to now being the special teams coordinator. It also frees up 2 more coaches to go on the road recruiting, and we're going to hit the road recruiting starting tomorrow afternoon and into Thursday and Friday. Go love on these players that are, that are out there and just spend time with them. So with that, I'll open up for questions.
So I'll throw kind of a softball at you, but with the change, you guys have been down in the lower fields all year. Was it intentional to, part of a fresh start, let's get on a new practice field and bring some different energy up here at Franklin?
I wish I could say that, Brian. It worked out with the plan. I was going to do it anyway, but we do have a field rotational basis from the lower fields to the upper fields. I did like that it created more of an intimate atmosphere. We had a lot of crowd noise, a lot of music playing, and I wanted to create that chaos, and I think that's a little bit more challenging to do in our lower fields, which are tremendous practice fields. But I thought it went hand in hand with the goal and the mission of us going out there and creating the game day atmosphere. There's one 100-yard field, and we wanted to basically create a game day atmosphere, and I think it really did achieve that.
You mentioned on Sunday night that you were planning to meet with every player individually. I'm curious how those meetings went and if there was a common theme and something that you heard back from a lot of different players.
Yeah, so, from 6:45 in the morning yesterday, so my first meeting was scheduled for 7. Brady Russell was ready to go at 6:45, 15 minutes early, ready to talk, ready to just be a part of the solution going forward. And then really without truly any break, I went from 6:45 to I believe it was 5:07 straight through PM. So, my voice is a little bit hoarse. I'm glad I was able to recover last night, get some sleep. But, certainly the message from a lot of the players that I wanted to hear first and foremost is change is hard. And change is particularly different for each one of our players in different phases of, of their experience here at Colorado. Some of the freshmen, they've never experienced any form of change in the form of a coach in their life. Really with the freshmen, the message was very consistent. I didn't really know what to think. I'm in shock. And I wanted them to be able to express how they're feeling, to talk about it. For me to be there for them, because that's not an easy thing. I can't just assume that everybody's just ready to move on. Coach Gerald brought a majority of these young players here, and there's a tremendous love and respect for Coach Gerald. And so those players, were impacted by it. But I think just for me to give them that space to speak about it, I think that anytime you have any type of hurt that you're experiencing and you keep it in, you don't have that ability to really work through it. And that was one thing. Every single one of my meetings started with that question: how are you doing? And then how are you really doing? And then some of the veterans were, they've been through this. They've been some of the guys that got here in 2018, 2017. You can do the math on the amount of interim head coaches, new head coaches that they've had, and they're resilient. And it's not easy for them, but they're resilient. They're looking onward. They're at the tail end of the career. I think it's important for me as being in this position, and for our staff to do everything in our power to honor their legacy. As much as they've fought through, as much as they've gone through, to make sure that they have an experience these last 8 weeks plus, an experience that they'll remember for the rest of their lifetime, in particular if they're in the tail end of their experience here at Colorado. The other thing, of course, we know if you look around college football already, you're getting some people done with Game 4, Game 5 of the season. The portal is rapid. It's players that have played 4 games are already kind of looking into, I've used my 4 games. I have a redshirt year. I'm going to go in the portal. We got ahead of that. We talked about it. We spoke specifically about, where you particularly stand. I was very candid. They were very candid, and I felt really good about just the entire team's willingness and desire to stay here. We all know that this world is rapidly changing and that's subject to change, but I thought that was another message that was really good. I think all of them realized that every single one of us needs to bring more energy to practice. Every single one of us needs to bring more accountability to how we meet, our position meetings, the intention of meetings. And I think that they really responded today with some of their own desires for us moving forward.
Hi, Coach. You mentioned that change is really difficult for you personally. What's been the hardest part in this transition for you?
I think just the suddenness of it. Going to work on Sunday, not knowing what was going to come of it, and then ultimately being in a press conference at 6:30 p.m. That's a reality of our world that we live in. I think the thing that amongst the challenges, amongst the sudden change, and almost feeling in a sense of, where am I? What am I doing? I think I'm reminded that I'm here for a reason. That I've been called to this purpose, to serve these players, to love these players, and to do everything in my power to continue to make sure that this staff wraps our arms around these players and then demands, changes that need to be made for us to go win some football games. And certainly that's a process that started today.
Hey, Coach. We saw a recent influx of freshman players just the past few weeks. I know you briefly touched on it on Sunday night. Are we going to continue to see a lot of these young players on both sides of the ball moving forward?
Yeah, we're going to play the best players that give us a chance to win football games. And, some of those freshmen have had opportunities to emerge as a result of, of injuries, of players of performance. And some of those players have really taken those opportunities and run with them. But we also understand they are freshmen, so they're not going to be perfect. So I think they bring a lot of that energy, that almost that youthful exuberance that comes with being a freshman in college. And I think a lot of our vets have really actually wrapped their arms around it and are excited about it. There really isn't a division on this roster whatsoever. Everybody just wants to win. Everybody's got a desire to win, and if it comes in the form of Jordan Tyson making plays down the field, then Daniel Arias is fired up about it. R.J. Sneed is fired up about it. Montana Lamonius Craig's excited about it. So I really believe that we have a really good culture from that perspective of players that can help us win games. Everybody's going to welcome them with open arms, and I think that's what we're continually looking for, is who are going to be those guys that are going to really provide that energy, provide that jolt, not just in practice but on game day.
Mike, I know in the middle of the season it's difficult to make wholesale schematic changes, but what tweaks or adjustments might be in the offing on either side of the ball going forward?
Yeah, I think the biggest changes that we have already made public are putting people in the right chairs. Put people in the correct seats of leadership, put the players in the right positions. That was another theme, Adam, from yesterday, is just talking to players about what particular position they feel most comfortable with. And those are ongoing decisions that we're going to be making. But we want to put the players in the best position, but I also want to put the coaches in the best place so that they can further enhance the development of this roster. And I think that's evident with a guy like Jeff Smart, evident with Chris Reinert. Just guys that I think that have been in this program, been around, and have done a nice job. And then that's going to continue to evolve. I mean, that's the thing that I've learned, particularly with the abruptness of this opportunity, is you can't make every single change in one day. There's already been a very significant change in the lives of these players. There's been a significant change in the lives of our coaching staff and myself. So if you change everything day one, then it's tough to be able to deal with it. Players are resilient, but to a point. And I don't think that we need to make any massive wholesale changes at this point, other than just putting people in the right chairs. And then schematically, we've gone back to the drawing board, on both sides of the ball. Those changes are what we're constantly working through. We found out and did a self-scout offensively and defensively, and really saw the things that we're good at. And then we saw the problems, and the problems are either going to be eliminated schematically from what we do, or we're just going to make the tweaks that we need to make. There's going to be new language in particular instances, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, with new leadership, new fits in the run game. And I think we saw some of the benefit of that today. It was fun to see, just to see guys swarm into the ball. If we could play fast, because it sounded simple, then I think we're going to be effective on defense, because we have the athletes, we have players. The belief is a huge piece of it, and I think they started to feel that belief today on that side of the football.
Mike, you addressed a little of this Sunday night, and you've seen a little bit of everything, even already in your coaching career, in a lot of places in a lot of regions. But interim's kind of halfway through a year is kind of a new phenomenon, I guess. It typically, you kind of know where things stand when a coaching staff changeover happens. Is that do you put yourself up more as a candidate when that happens? Have you had that talk, maybe even Sunday night with Ray George, about what do I have to do to maybe put myself up for this? Or is it awkward in that sense, again, because it's a relatively new thing in this profession?
Great question. I put myself, in the situation that you're talking about, of a lot of different scenarios in the game of football. And I called my dad, who's been still coaching in his, I think, 45th year. And I told him that this is certainly a new one for me personally. And even for my dad, he had 40 some odd years of college and pro coaching and never experienced this particular instance. But I think number one, I'm looking at this nothing about candidacy and all about players, all about these young men in front of me. And I think that's the most important thing. If I make it about something that it's not today, then I think that you start worrying about the wrong things. And I think the most important thing is getting these players to believe, getting these players to realize that they are capable of doing things that they haven't done yet this season. And that's my job right now, is what's 6 inches in front of me that I have to stare at every single day, is the opportunity that lies ahead. And that's just winning this bye week. That's true. Like, we have to improve this bye week. And then, go out and recruit for 2 days. And then come back, restored, energized, and give them everything I got. I really am taking it from the mindset of I'm doing everything in my power to continue on the greatness of this program, and we're going to continue to do that for a little bit longer.
Curious what your dad said, because it is unique.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a brief conversation with my dad. I haven't had much time to speak to anybody, but I did have a brief conversation with my dad, and he just told me that this is it's a great opportunity if you look at it the right way. And I think very similar to what I said, if you look at it from the perspective of what can I do to make sure that every single one of the players on our roster, they feel cared for, they feel like there's hope and there's a vision, for where we're going. Then you just leave everything else up to what happens. But that's the biggest thing that I took away from him, is just, don't worry about what's 6 months down the road. But there are other things like recruiting that have to be you have to look at from a long-sighted perspective, and recruiting, some of the other things that from a program standpoint, if we're stagnant on that, that's going to actually set back our program. And so I want to do anything from my perspective that I can over the course of these next 8 weeks, in addition to helping these players to help this program move forward, to be a great asset to Rick George and President Solomon, and Chancellor DeStefano. I think it's going to be important for me to be an asset for them, in this endeavor for these next couple months, and then see where the chips fall.
Mike, I'm really glad you brought up recruiting. That was what I was going to ask about. How much of the focus with recruiting with the coaching staff is on talking with players that have already expressed maybe verbal commitments, and also looking at potential other prospects that you're still going after, and kind of what is the challenge? Can you just expand a little bit more on the challenge as an interim head coach and talking with recruits, just given the uncertainty of what may come for not just you but just the rest of the coaching staff after December?
Yeah, I think the first thing is that just getting in touch with them. We as position coaches and area recruiting coaches have reached out to every single one of them. I made my first priority without question the guys that are here, and so of course that occupied a large chunk of the only day that I've had between Sunday's press conference and today. And then my next step is going to be getting on the phone and FaceTime with each of our committed prospects. University of Colorado in Boulder is an unbelievable place, as we all know. That's not changing, and they all know that. However, there are relationships. So it's got to be, we have the opportunity to continue in this endeavor for, several months. So we're going to continue to love these players, build a relationship, but also build a relationship with regards to what a special place University of Colorado is and what a special place Boulder is. So, those flat irons aren't changing anytime soon. Pearl Street's not going away, and we're going to continue to sell all the greatness that this place has to offer. As we all know, it's a special place.
You had some key guys that were injured coming into the bye week: Brady Russell, Alex Fontenot, Isaiah Lewis. Would you be able to provide updates on any of those guys?
Yeah, Brady Russell's on the mend. Alex Fontenot's on the mend. We're making some decisions. Isaiah Lewis, we'll give you an update at a further time. You start getting into that midseason time. There's always those decisions that need to be made with regards to the future of a young man. So we're not in a place to discuss that yet. But yeah, I think we're actually getting healthier, which is exciting. I think that stretch of Game 4 and Game 5, especially on the offensive side of the ball, we were starting to experience some. There were quite a few players that were veteran players that weren't up and able to perform, and that did give way to younger players having the opportunities to go out and do things. And I think we're going to be in a better place from a health perspective come next week when we get off the bye week.
So two things that are different but related. So first off, we saw you today, with different positions. You're all over the field. How much are you looking forward to kind of being involved with the whole team and, being actually on the sidelines where you haven't been yet? And I'm also curious, when was the last time you were on the sidelines for a game? And then the other part is, I'm curious how much of the play calling is going to be done by Clay Patterson as opposed to you.
Yeah, so today was fun, because one thing that I've loved about this team and I've commended them on is, I've been a part of a similar situation in 2016 at Notre Dame. That season, we went to the Fiesta Bowl in 2015, had a tremendous season. 2016 was a challenging year. There was a change made, at the defense coordinator position in 2016. And, I think the resolve of our players and how they've handled it and responded to all the different situations that have happened throughout the course of the year. Not once have they pointed fingers. Not once have they, really truly hung their heads. They've stayed focused on a mission. And so it's been really exciting for me to really wrap my arms around those guys by virtue of being around their individual periods. So it's a really fun experience to just get to know these guys better. I had them all in my quarterback, or it was actually my office upstairs, and probably 60 guys, not the guys that aren't in the offensive room, have never been in my office before. My wife decorated my office as a kind of almost a little bit of a coffee shop, kind of a real comfortable kind of vibe in there. And it was fun for them to see all this different sayings and pictures of my family, and just those kinds of experiences make you feel more connected to players, and hopefully they feel more connected to me, because obviously you got to make up for time lost that you haven't had a chance to sink into those relationships outside of just seeing guys in the hall and dapping them up and telling them you love them. In terms of sideline, last time that I was on the sideline, I believe, was 2018 at Western Kentucky. the last game of the season we played at Louisiana Tech. In school history, had never won a game at La Tech, and we came out and played tremendous football and won the game, first time in school history. So I have a good memory, with regards to the last time that I've been, on the sideline. 2019, Utah State, I actually was up in the box majority of the season, and then I came down really for an energy shot for the program. And I think my first game down, if I'm not mistaken, was at Fresno State. And I think that game ended up being a walk-off win for us. So I just love the energy of the sideline. I love to be, a part of it. Sometimes it's challenging to be able to be, an under-control play caller and also go out on the sideline with crazy juice and energy, and the players can feed off of you. I told the players, last time I was on the sideline, that's the reason I wear the knee brace I have. I tore my meniscus celebrating an interception with a defensive player. So that's one of those that stayed with me, I think, now for about 4 or 5 years and just keeps getting worse. So I told them my full intention is to tear my right meniscus some point in the next 5 games. Next 7 games, excuse me. So I'm excited about that opportunity to get back on the field.
All right, one more from Tyler.
Like you mentioned, the importance of meeting with the players, obviously all day yesterday. Is that something that you maybe learned from Coach Gerald? Because he talked a lot in the offseason kind of about immediately after last season just going on the recruiting trail after the last game and just kind of not checking in with players. Maybe that was kind of a mistake that he made, checking with players in the program. Is that something you learned from Coach Gerald, and just kind of going forward, making it a priority to make sure you're in touch and communicating well with all the players in the program, just given the state of college football and the transfers and the portal and things like that have kind of changed the landscape?
I wasn't very aware, at the time about what happened. I wasn't here until really January, so I kind of missed out on maybe those conversations. But one thing that I did become well aware of when I met with the players is just how much of Coach Gerald meant to those players relationally and as a man, and the life lessons that he taught them. But in terms of what I've done and what I continue to do is, I think one of the things that I've learned is that, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care, right? Nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And you can't do that by just talking to 110 people, in a meeting room setting, right? You have to do that with intimate conversations to get on the ground floor. It's one thing that, my wife worked for a ministry called Young Life, and in that ministry, the whole premise of it is to make relationships and go where the players are, go where the kids are, which is in their schoolroom cafeterias. And then I think the biggest thing from that is I learned the term earn the right to be heard. And if you earn the right to be heard because of your personality, your care for them, then you're going to find out much more about what makes them tick, and then you're going to ask them to do things that are frankly pretty challenging. The game of football is hard, so I think that's a couple things that I learned.
Anything else for Coach Sanford? All right. Coach Patterson, are you ready?
Hey, thank you very much.
How we doing? See y'all. Wasn't expecting to see y'all. I have to get a haircut today. My beard trimmed. I didn't know I was going to be in front of a camera today, so apologize for the look. Good? Do you want me to go ahead and start? Good?
Well, Clay, just your perception of everything that's gone on. Obviously, you probably didn't expect when you got hired that your job would be different 5 games into the season.
Yeah.
So just give us your thoughts on now being in the offensive coordinator role and kind of how you see that evolving as far as play calling, things like that.
Yeah, I think, at first I'd say, I owe everything to Coach Gerald, for bringing me here, and Coach Sanford, and giving me the opportunity to kind of chase my dream. I left Minnesota, wanting more responsibility, and wanting to have, a little more input in the offense. And, I got that here with Coach Sanford. And then sometimes, somebody told me one time, it's still your dream, even though your dream doesn't happen exactly like you wanted it to. This isn't exactly how I envisioned it, but, my dream's always been to be a Division I offensive coordinator. And to have the opportunity that Coach Sanford has given me to do that is a privilege. It did catch us off guard, but, I think you prepare all the time, to be in the role that you want. You mentally prepare yourself. You work in the job you have, but also work that job like it's the one you want. And so, we're in a good situation offensively where, Coach Sanford and I think alike. We built this thing, together, and he's empowered me to have some input. So, I'm excited about the opportunity to do it and to do it with him, and to have a guy like him to be my head coach, to do it with, is a kind of a perfect opportunity for me.
We've heard about your high-octane offenses that you had in the past. How would you kind of describe your philosophy as a play caller?
Yeah, I told my guys today, and I've had some very interesting situations as an offensive coordinator where I took over, and all the way back, my first job, I was 24 years old, and it was kind of like this. I was in a car coming back from Houston recruiting. I hadn't met my wife yet. I was not seeing her, but it was coming back, and then we get a call that the head coach was quitting. And the D coordinator looked at me and said, "I'm the head coach. You want to call? Or you're calling plays." He didn't even ask me. So, I think that the experiences that I have allowed me to get to this point. And I told my guys today, I've never called offense and been a part of an offense that we didn't talk about three things, and that's effort, attitude, and toughness. We talk about that we got to eat every day and empower kids to do that. Well, the situation we're in offensively is we have to have all our kids step up and make plays. It's not about one kid. It's not about Daniel Arias. It's not about Brady Russell. It's not about Owen McCown. It's about everybody making plays and doing it together. And we're going to run our offense. This is our offense. It's not, what I did back then with the high tempo, 98 plays a game, all that. We're going to play complementary football, which allows us to help our defense and to also put ourselves in situations to score points. But the bottom line, guys, is what's crazy about this game is that football sometimes becomes not fun. And we want these kids to have fun playing football again. These guys have been through a lot of stuff, man. They've had, I don't even know how many head coaches Brady Russell's had, or I don't even no idea. Was it 6? Like with interims? Is that probably right? Right? How many coordinators has he had? How many people has come into his life? Our job as coaches is to make sure these guys have fun and enjoy this experience. And if they'll do that and they'll find some joy in playing football again, then I think that you'll see good results from them. But we have to empower these young kids to go out and feel like they can make plays and that no matter what happens, they're going to have another chance to fail and to grow from that.
You mentioned Brady and kind of his experience, and now that you have a little bit more responsibility going forward, how much more of an asset is he going to be, specifically with the tight end room? And do you feel like he could almost be a new tight ends coach going forward for you guys, just given how long he's been here and just
Well,
kind of the experience?
it's funny because sometimes with everything that was going on, I walked in the meeting room today. And I wasn't as prepared as I normally am. And I looked at him, I said, "Guys, there's a lot going on right now. Here's the notes, and let's go." And then Brady literally said, "Hey, Coach, it's good. I'm the interim tight end coach." So he literally said that to me, and that's the case. I'm going on the road tomorrow at noon. So I told him, I was like, "You're in charge of these guys. And having him as an asset is, to help these guys is very, very big. And to be honest, we didn't take him on the road last week. But we did that for a reason, because I wanted to empower these young guys. There's 5 freshmen on the bus to go out and to take control of their group, because he's not going to be here forever. It's winding down for him, and he wants to lead this thing the right way. We owe it to these seniors to give them every opportunity to walk out of Boulder proud to be a Buffalo. And I told them before the game Saturday, 20 years from now, Brady's going to walk down the street, right? And he's going to see Owen, right? Or he's going to see Dion. And they have to look each other in the eye and say, "We did this at CU." And what's that going to be? And for them to take pride in that. And we have to do everything we can to let them have that pride in this school when they come back here.
Coach, you're obviously in an elevated position, and there's a lot going on in this bye week. But as you look back on the first 5 games, in your opinion, what are the biggest issues of this offense, and are they able to be fixed in season?
Yeah, there is definitely some things that we addressed today, and what we addressed with them today was don't beat ourselves. We're not in a situation with how young we are and lack of experience at certain positions to be in a situation to beat ourselves with penalties. You look at a lot of our drives, we were sustaining, we're going, then all of a sudden we have a penalty, right? And that stops our drive, or we have a drop ball. Or we have an MA, and those are self-inflicted wounds. And what we're encouraging them to do is to refocus on the details and to be confident in their details and their preparation to go out and to be able to execute that. But no, there's a lot of issues we have, and we're in a unique situation where can you fix everything right now? No, a lot of it is reps and time. I think we have 10 freshmen, I don't know, don't quote me on that exact number, but there's like 10 freshmen playing. I mean, well, 10 freshmen got to get a lot of reps before they get to where they need to be. But the biggest thing is just encouraging them to be confident. Like, I think the biggest thing that I told them today was that, like, guys, we're not confident. We have to go out and we have to be confident in what we're doing. And sometimes less is more, you know, and being able to execute our base offense no matter what anybody does to us and to go have confidence that we're going to do it is important. So we're going to start with the details and coach them hard. We went back and reinstalled a lot of our base plays today and because they're young. You know, and that's what you got to do. You got to teach them, you got to love them, and you got to care about them, and that's the approach we took.
One more from Brian.
So now that you're in this position, you said you're going to run the offense, but are there certain things in your offense, that certain plays or whatever that you guys have that you haven't really done a whole lot of that you're kind of excited about? Well,
yeah,
I'm going to do this.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You know, I told you guys from the beginning, like, I grew up, my dream was to be a Big 12 offensive coordinator at Colorado or OU, and I wanted to run the wishbone. So we'll see you guys on next Saturday. But yeah, we have some things that, you know, that we haven't got to yet. You know, we haven't had time. We haven't been on track enough to get to some of the things that we've had. And we looked at our overage of, like, how many plays are we over on a game plan versus how many we ran, right? And we haven't got to a lot of things where it's like we don't need to put new things in. We have just to get to the things we have in our offense and stay on track and sustain drives and to go make plays. So, and the bottom line is we have to be able to make some chunk plays in our offense. Like, we have to have some intermediate pass game, chunk plays. It doesn't have to be explosive. It doesn't have to be 80-yard touchdowns, but we have to be better at our chunk plays of being able to move the chains and to get our first down and keep rolling. So, yep.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Coach Chatman, you ready?
How's everybody doing? All right. Good.
Questions for Coach Chatman?
All right. Yeah, same thing as we asked Clay, but, like, just your initial reaction to everything. And, you know, I know you had a lot of respect for Chris Wilson and, you know, when he brought you in here. So just your reaction to everything and losing Chris and being in this position that you didn't think you'd be in.
Yeah. You know, first off, I definitely have a lot of respect, you know, for Coach Terrell and his leadership that he had here and giving me an opportunity to join the program overall. You know, my reaction to everything is, you know, you have to answer to what you're called to do. And so the other morning when I woke up, I was motivated and energized as I usually am to do what I was called to do, which was to coach the D-line. And I was called to do something else that day. And I instantly accepted, you know, the calling and the challenge, and you know, and got right to work. You know, so my reaction is to, for one, accept the calling, accept the challenge, and to respond to the new leadership, which I really believe we're in good hands with Coach Sanford, and just we you know, Coach Sanford and I, we talk just not only football, but just, you know, just the type of men that we are. I think without even knowing that this would ever happen, we've had those conversations, and just the way you carry yourself professionally, I think, and staying the course when things are good and things are bad. You know, a 0-5 football team is challenging for not only the players, but it's challenging for the coaches as well. And I think one of the things that I try to do every day, in spite of it being challenging, is stay the course and still pour into my guys. And so, you know, being in this situation right now is kind of an easy transition because I'm just doing the same thing with more guys. So,
with this being your first defensive coordinating experience, have you reached out to any mentors in the last couple of days? What's going to kind of help you into this role?
Yeah, well, a lot of guys have reached out to me. Coach Orgeron has called me literally every day. Called me this morning. Hey, G, how was practice? You know, and a lot of other guys that I've been around, guys that have been around at the professional level. You know, Blake Baker over at Missouri has called me, you know, just to offer support. Durante Jones, you know, with the Vikings. The good thing for me is a lot of the guys that I've had a chance to build relationships with over the years, or guys that are secondary guys, or guys that have coordinated before, and that's very helpful for me. Being tied to the front is having guys that are friends of mine that I can call and they can share with me their expertise, and I can ask them the tough questions and feel comfortable with doing that. So that's been very helpful for me. I can't answer every call. Obviously, the phone's been off the hook, and like I said, when the opportunity came up, and I hit the ground running, and so all my focus has been on the defensive staff to start, to make sure that we're all led the same way and that we're all on the same page and we have an understanding, we have an open dialogue to be able to discuss everything and vet everything out before we go to the players. And so that's what we've been doing the last couple of days.
Hi, Coach. The defense has had a pretty challenging time this season. The past 5 games, what have been your biggest takeaways, and what do your efforts look like going forward in turning this thing around?
Yeah, I think some of the traits, we have to change our traits first, how we look, how we take the field, our energy, our sense of urgency, what you like overall, what you see besides the scheme and being sound. We have to change our traits, and we've been talking to the entire team about that, right? Again, like I said, when things aren't going our way, we still have to have a sense of urgency. We still have to have great traits, and we still have to have energy, and we still have to have belief. And I think that, an outside eye could look and say, do they ask the question, do these guys believe, right? And I think that what we need to change and what we're going to change is to the outside eye, you're not going to have to ask that question. You're going to look at the team and say that they believe, regardless of what the result is. You're going to look at the team and you're going to know that they believe. And so if we can change those interior traits and get guys to really play from the heart, because I'm going to coach them and lead them from the heart. And that's what I told them today when I broke them down, that in spite of our circumstance, I'm going to give them everything I got. I'm going to give them my heart, and the coaches are going to do the same thing. Defensively, scheme-wise, we're going to be sound, and we're going to put guys in the right position to be successful, give ourselves a chance. And when you do that, and when you're sound, then tackling improves, and the takeaways improve. And we had 3 takeaways today and a forced fumble. And I told the guys that's not just by accident, right? They did that. I didn't go out there and play the game. I didn't take the ball away. They did it. And I think that that's a sign of our leadership and kind of the energy that we brought just starting off in our team meeting as an entire team. I think all those little things matter. And I think that it's not just going to be me and making the perfect call, but I think it's going to be the process and our preparation and our energy and who we are and how we carry ourselves when everybody's not around. Everybody's not in our team meetings. So the process and the things that you don't see, when those things change, the things that you do see, I believe they can change. And it's still going to be very challenging, but that's what we're going to fight and work to do.
Obviously, you guys have struggled stopping the run so far this year. How much is that going to be an emphasis going forward? And, we've talked with Coach Gerald this year, and he's mentioned about how, you guys are having good practices, but it's not translating over to Saturdays. Is there anything that you plan on maybe doing differently during the week leading up preparation that maybe you feel like you can get that translation that you want from during the week of practice to Saturday?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like I said, we're going to focus on being sound, and the way we're going to do that is the way we do it is, today we walked through and we did formation recognition where guys are really taking it. We're really detailing guys knowing what their assignment is. That's how you can be. We're going to be sound. The defense is going to be sound. Now let's make sure that everyone in the defense has a clear understanding of what they can do, where they should align, what their responsibility is, and then what their technique is. And that's going to be huge. Like, with the D-line, I record individual every day. A lot of people don't know that. We watch individual just like we watch team. Because once they know what to do, we have to teach them how to do it. That's the most important thing. Excuse me. Anybody can come up right now. You can take a random call sheet and call defense. But the most important thing, great coaches are going to teach their guys how to execute within the defense. So I think, a lot of times obvious things are said, right? Oh, we can't tackle. But why can't we tackle? It starts with, okay, where is everybody at on the field, right? And do they know what to do? And if they don't know what to do, then there may be hesitation. If you're hesitant on what you're doing, and now, I got to go make a tackle. I got to go put my helmet on somebody, right? That's tough. But it's like everything in life. It's not just football. It's even with your jobs, right? You have confidence in what you do. When you know what to do and how to do it and how to conduct yourself in doing it, then you can execute and you can be good at what you do. And it's the same thing with playing defensive football. So we're going to make sure that the guys know what to do and how to do it. And we're going to put an emphasis, and we're going to go back and we're going to reteach tackling. We're going to, today we did a defensive speed drill, right, with the entire defense. And we're going to force the guys to be fast together, not just as individual groups. We're going to force them to play fast together, right, to go through the drills fast together, to go through the walkthroughs fast together, to take the field together fast.
One more from Brian.
Coach, I know there's obviously a sense of urgency because you have 7 games left, but are you also grateful this is a bye week so that you can try to figure out how to be a defensive coordinator for a few days before you get into a game week?
Absolutely. Yes, to answer your question, having a bye week gives us, the clock is ticking, right? And some of the things we need to fix and change, most teams have years to do that, or a year, or a spring. We don't have that. So, but we're not going to make an excuse. We're going to get it right, and we just have to be efficient with our time. And I think the last couple of days, as a defensive staff, we've done that with great balance. Just like I said, making sure that we have energy. So, we took the time to meet in the morning, and then guys had time to go work out, take a walk, whatever they needed to do, because everything that we do in our preparation, we need to be energized and we need to have a sense of urgency. And if we're going to demand that from our players, we had to have that out of our coaches. So the bye week is going to allow us to have time to sort things out. But we're also going to challenge the kids, all right, to take on a little bit more. And I think that's going to help us schematically. I think that's going to help us play good defense, and they have to take ownership in that. Hey, we got to do a little bit more, and we got to kind of treat this like a mini training camp here.
All right, thanks, Coach.
All right, appreciate you guys.
Tommy, you ready? All right, questions for Tommy.
Tommy, kind of give us your perspective on what it's been like to be a player here the last few days.
Yeah, well, new to me. Some of my teammates, this is same old, same old. So, I was trying to take the points from the guys that I was with. They were like, we know what this phone call is. When I was with Frank Phillip when I got the phone call, and we knew what the meeting was going to be. It's obviously sad, disappointing. I love Coach Darrell. Coach Gerald was an unbelievable coach. I'm so thankful that he brought me here. But it's time to move on. There's a new excitement in the building, a new energy, and I think everyone's just trying to lock in and buy into the new coaches. And I'm fired up, and I feel like most of everyone on the team, I'm getting energy from. That everyone's excited.
So you sort of alluded to that right there, but when something like this happens, it's obviously because you guys aren't playing very well, right? So as a team, have you guys talked about galvanizing, coming together, and let's make this a positive and come together rather than breaking apart?
Oh yeah, most definitely. I think it's very important for a team to stay together in situations like this. I mean, it sucks, and we don't want to be in this situation, but it's a situation we're in, and I think us as players are learning to take responsibility for our actions. You know, Coach Gerald's an unbelievable man, and we wish that we didn't get his job taken from him. I'm taking it personally. Like, I feel like I need to step up and do better. And I hope that, and I feel that most of my teammates are feeling the same way.
Coach Sanford obviously mentioned, spending all day yesterday kind of meeting with you guys individually. How important was that to you, and just kind of what was that like, just to kind of have that short time with him to kind of talk? You guys are both obviously new to this program, new to Boulder, coming in the offseason, but what was that just kind of like, and just kind of strengthening your relationship with him and kind of seeing what his message is going to be going forward for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, Coach Sanford and I have a great relationship. He's one of the reasons why I came here. And so I was obviously very excited when he got the job. And when we started deciding to have meetings, I thought it was the best thing. We all needed to meet with Coach Sanford and just talk out, because everyone's in a different situation and everyone wants to have a conversation with the head ball coach. So and that's tough to do. So for him to take that time to meet with us, it shows that he cares about us and that we're important to him, and we have his back, he has our back.
Tommy, in what ways was today's practice different?
I felt like there was a new energy. I felt like everyone's intensity increased. I think the attention to detail was a major part of practice today. And I think everyone was just flying around, and it was focusing on having fun and being fast while doing it.
Tommy, there's a lot of talk of all the young guys playing, and there is a lot of young guys. There's also a lot of veterans. Guys have been here for a long time. You, Terrance, a lot of guys. So has that group kind of, taken upon themselves as well as, hey, we got to lead these young guys through what's a tough time for everybody?
Yeah, I can only speak on the guys that I've talked to, and I'm very close friends with the offensive line, obviously, and that's where a lot of the senior leadership on the offense comes from. We feel like we just need to keep pushing along. We felt like we were moving in the right direction, but now there's just like, all right, we have to do it now. It's not like we want to move in the right direction. We need to have our coaches' backs and play the best that we can.
Anything else for Tommy? All right, appreciate it, Tommy.
Thank you, guys.
Terrance, for you, you're one of those guys that this is now your 5th head coach in terms of when you add interim. When you look back at this, how crazy has this journey just been for you, and how much change you've experienced in the time you've been here?
It's been a wild journey. Like you said, 5th head coach. But at this point, I'm grateful for every experience. I feel like I was able to learn something from each experience, so I try to turn it into a positive and just learn from it.
Terrance, obviously the team as a whole has kind of taken a new energy this week, kind of with change, but especially for you guys on the defense. You not only lost the head coach, you lost the coordinator as well. How much is there more emphasis for the guys on the defense just to kind of step up your play and kind of get this thing righted right away next week with Cal?
There's a huge emphasis that needs to happen right now. The big thing for us as a defense is everybody staying together and staying tight as a group and buying into what Coach Chatman and Coach Sanford are trying to do. I think that's going to be huge for us to be able to do our part in understanding the information faster so we can go out and be able to execute.
Terrance, having been around Coach Chatman for almost a year now, what are your expectations for him now being elevated to defensive coordinator?
I expect him to continue to lead us like he's been doing it, continue to develop players and maximize potential like he says. And I think he's going to bring fire to the defense, just a different energy, fire. People are going to fly around and play with confidence without that weight on your back like you're afraid to make a mistake. It's going to be fast and free football.
Hi, Terrance. Throughout your time with Coach Wilson, what are some valuable lessons he's taught to you, and what can you say about his character and how he is as a coach?
Coach Chris is a great coach. I got the utmost respect for him and Coach Darrell as well. I learned a lot of mental toughness from Coach Chris. I learned a different style of football and playing attack. He came in and brought that technique to me. And just having different coaches, I feel like playing the different techniques, I've had a little bit of everything. And Coach Chris brought that attack phase to me, and I can continue to add that to parts of my game as I continue to play.
Hey, Terrance, you guys have struggled to generate pressure to this point this season. Do you feel like with the new defensive coordinator, you guys will be able to get to the quarterback and be more disruptive?
Definitely. That's one of our main emphasis is being able to get more pressure on the quarterback. We're going to come after people a lot. That's all I can really say there.
So, Terrance, with all those changes, they've all been different, you know, and this is the second time you've had the head coach fired during the season, but McIntyre was 1 game left. This is 7 games. There's a lot of time to, you know, try to turn things around. So how does this one feel different than every other change you've been through?
Like you said, we have a lot of games in front of us, and one thing Coach Sanford said is we're going to look at it like an 8-game season. We even cut off the first 4 games above the board, or 5 games rather, and they're blacked out. So I'm looking at it like we have an 8-game season, a fresh start, and I'm ready to get this thing rolling.
Anything else for Tulane? All right, thank you. Thanks, everybody. One more house cleaning. Ashton Logan late last week was dismissed from the team. Happened before the